For more than a year, Diane has been living in fear of the man she was once close to, the father of her 3-year-old son. But it wasn't just him she was afraid of. It was also his diehard followers, who seemed hell-bent on ending the life of her and their infant son in the most brutal ways possible. Diane did install CCTV at her residence, and just a few months ago, it caught Gatis and his crew peeping into her property, as if plotting something sinister. That day, nothing happened, but something horrible was planned. Diane knew she had to leave, but financial constraints meant she had no choice but to stay while searching for another place. She hoped one day of returning to complete her training to become a history teacher, something she had given up on due to prior health reasons. Diane realized she left her son's potty outside the patio and went out to retrieve it. As she was doing this, she heard the neighbors wheeling out their garbage bins. Waste collection day is tomorrow. Verbally, she thanked them for reminding her and went to pull her garbage bin outside. As she exited her home and wheeled out her bin, she could hear someone walking towards her quickly from behind. That's when she felt a thud. She was savagely being beaten at the back of her head with a metallic nightstick by the people who were wheeling garbage bins earlier.
Alsjeblieft! Alsjeblieft! Alsjeblieft, please! Help! Help! Hier. Stop er nu! Alsjeblieft! Alsjeblieft! Ik heb een kind! Alsjeblieft! Alsjeblieft!
That was Diane being hit 9 times with a nightstick before being choked against the wall with it, followed by the man pouring acid over her from a bottle handed over by his own 15-year-old daughter. Diane pleaded with them to stop, saying, "Please, I have a son." With all her strength, she manages to push him away, grab the nightstick, and runs. He chases her, throwing acid behind her back one more time. The attackers were giggling and smirking as Diane ran around, desperately seeking help, receiving blows that had caused fractures and broken bones. Diane manages to run into the neighbor's house, who lock the doors and call the police. Diane drops the nightstick and rinses off as much acid as possible, bleeding and bloody for 15 minutes in the shower, but eventually she has to lay down. The stick was later identified as an illegal weapon in the Netherlands and Germany. Diane remembers being awake in the ambulance as she is taken away to the hospital. Diane describes her time in the hospital as far from ideal. The local hospital she was in was not prepared to treat burn and acid attack. Her arm was nearly amputated off, and she almost lost one of her nipples too. Despite the excruciating pain, her thoughts were constantly with her son. This only added to her trauma and anguish, as she knew her ex was after both of them. When it was finally time to meet her son, Diane was nervous, because she didn't know how he would react to seeing her half-disfigured face. But her son gave her a big kiss on the cheeks, bringing tears to her eyes. He didn't care one bit. He was just happy to see his mom again. This was one of the happiest memories of Diane's life. And if only, for this brief instance, all the pain and fear that she had felt simply disappeared. Despite the CCTV footage of her attack, police were unable to identify or locate her attackers, and Diane felt disappointed in the system once again. Back in 2018, Diane had to quit her studies due to an undisclosed medical condition. Conventional medicine was just not cutting it. But then, she stumbled upon a YouTube channel run by a man named Gatis, better known at the time as Severage. He seemed to have bold ideas about health and nutrition, speaking from his personal experience of how a carnivore diet saved his life and is the optimal and superior human diet.
For the last 2 months, I've been eating meat and butter only. And by meat, I mean muscle and organs. And my conclusion is that it's about impossible to gain fat eating this way.
Diane first spoke to Gatis online in February 2018, and he seemed knowledgeable and attentive to her. He seemed genuinely interested in her well-being. Physically, he looked muscular and fit at the time, which lent credibility to his statements. They met a few months later at a meetup Gatis organized and connected well. Gatis spoke of his desire to live free of corporate oppression, possibly on a farm, and start a family. Diane too was interested in such a life, and these common ideals drove them closer. At the time, she admired what seemed to be an original way of thinking, but later realized much of his philosophy was simply borrowed from others and radicalized by him. Not long after meeting, they became romantically involved. In fact, Gatis had left his previous girlfriend for Diane. In one of his YouTube videos, Gatis introduced Diane to his followers. He requested donations and support because he had been receiving a monthly allowance from his ex-girlfriend's family to help take care of her. The family even provided accommodations for them. But now that that relationship was over, so was that source of income.
What's up, everybody? I'm gonna make a completely raw video, no editing, and just tell you what's going on. A lot of you asked me over the last years, months, where I get money and how I afford the raw meat and everything. And the thing is that I had a girlfriend who I split up with now, whose parents are millionaires, and they gave me 500 euros at least every month, usually more. So I never had to think about money. I pretty much can't afford this diet anymore because I don't get the money anymore. I met somebody else and I chose her over.
Despite his controversial views, Diane supported and even joined in with him.
If they're crying, you're going to make you proud. It's very nice how we evolved. There's no way around it. There's no supplement. There's no gimmick. There's no thing you can buy to get around. Like I've always said, your brain, 70% saturated fat.
I did basically. Then did 6 year vegan. 3 of that I did fruitarianism. And I built muscle, but health plummeted. I'll do it. Yeah.
There's no better lunch than a goose egg, mate. It's going to really upset your body. It's the sugar. And that's the real...
What people don't realize is that grains turn into sugar in the body also.
The body does not attack itself. That's a ridiculous idea.
That's where you're dangerous.
No.
You liar! Where's your poster?
I make hundreds of vegans do.
Very sorry.
No, at the moment, you are causing individuals.
You will all see that.
I didn't, for example, talk to the guy at all.
I'm not saying about him.
If they are causing us distress.
No, I'm talking about you.
Okay, I'm just saying.
Alarm, harassment, stress. By your actions of eating them.
We'll see who laughs last. But if you ever not feel well, listen to your body, okay?
However, similar to many of his followers, she brushed aside his more extreme ones.
I see a lot of videos for women on YouTube on how to get a so-called hourglass body. They will tell you to work out, do plastic surgery, go on unnatural diets, and so on. All of this is bullshit. There's one solution to all of your problems: pregnancy. The reason you look the way you look is because you did not get pregnant right after you started menstruating. Not doing that is exactly the same as not eating meat and fat when you are hungry, and you will be naturally punished for it. You are punished with your looks. I've talked about cannibalism before and how nobody wants to talk about it. But when it comes to incest, nobody wants to even think about it. And if you switch off what you have learned for a second, you may come to the same conclusion about sex. We get told about these genetic disorders and birth defects. There's a lot of claims, but no proof. Correct me if I'm wrong. Wouldn't these problems logically come from blood that is further away from you? You've probably heard of the saying, nobody's above the law, most likely from the media, which really just means that you're a slave, especially if you call yourself a law-abiding citizen, then you're an absolute slave. In reality, every animal on Earth is above the law, which includes humans, and that's because the law doesn't exist. Yesterday I saw the news about this guy called Nermin Sulejmanovic, a Bosnian bodybuilder who was clearly on steroids, who killed his ex-wife. I have incredible respect for this guy. The guy himself said it. She kidnapped his child for 1 week. The testosterone level of the man of today is somewhere here. Naturally, it should be here. How could I respect man who simply let this kind of stuff happen to them? No matter what the woman does, it doesn't matter what it's about. You don't just snap like that You have to be insanely mad at somebody to do something like that. The Illuminati are happy people and eating children and babies. All the research which I've done since I've gotten out of the hospital completely tells me that the Illuminati's diet consists of baby and children organs. How to live and how to live long and healthy and the secrets of humanity of this planet and everything. Of course they understand this. I've mentioned it twice in the past videos about eating other humans, but sort of as a joke, even though it all really makes sense.
Fast forward a few months, Gatis hosted a live stream from Berlin, and Diane sitting quietly next to him. She looked dazed and uninterested, but most noticeably, she had a black eye. Gatis explained that Diane was horrifically attacked by immigrants in the forest and is in need of surgery. Donations would help.
I'll get right to the point. My girlfriend Luna, she was mugged yesterday in the fucking shit city. I wouldn't even make a video about it, but her teeth are all chipped in at the top and the bottom because of the kick in the face. We tried all kinds of raw food for healing, even raw eggs. They're pretty much liquid, but she can't eat them because it hurts so much. So now we gotta get a straw and somehow try to feed her some nutrition so she heals in some way. It's just all up. Everything here is swollen. The nose is swollen. She already had problems with the nose. She had surgeries. So we don't know what's going to happen with that now. What did the doctor say at the hospital?
That I might have to stay 48 hours because there could be an internal bleeding.
Because you could die.
Yeah, basically.
And you couldn't even remember your phone number
and age. Yeah.
It's just also up. We definitely got to go to a dentist now because she can't eat anything. And you know how expensive dentists are in Europe. And with the nose also. I appreciate all the support I get on Patreon, but that money pretty much pays for my food. That's about it. We both don't have a decent income to pay for any of this. So if anybody could support us in any way, even $5 to $10 on my PayPal, for example, that would really help us.
But of course, this wasn't the full story. He was exploiting the anti-immigrant sentiment sweeping across Europe. According to Diane herself, she said something to Gatis in the forest that he misunderstood as questioning his masculinity. The last thing she remembers is bending down to tie her shoelaces and him kicking her with full force in the face. She passed out and woke up with broken teeth, several facial injuries, and a concussion. Diane didn't fully understand what had happened until later, but she knew that anything could trigger his violent outburst. She was terrified of him. Gatis controlled her passport, her money, and her movements. He spoke German while she did not. When the police arrived, Gatis told them they were attacked by immigrants. At the hospital, Gatis convinced Diane to quickly leave by signing a discharge form she couldn't fully understand. The police did suspect foul play, as they believed only Diane and Gatis were in the area at the time, but no charges were filed, and they left the country soon after. Gatis raised a significant amount of money from this fabricated story, and while it did go towards Diane's surgery in Ukraine, all the excess went into his pockets. Gatis knew exactly how to manipulate his followers for money and sympathy. He had been perfecting this act for years.
I've been wanting to try raw meat for ages now, and the last few months I've been doing a lot of research, and after I came back from Italy, I thought it's time to do it, and the first bite I had actually felt how much more right it is, how much more natural it is, because of the consistency, the texture, the smell, and just how it looks. For whatever reason, I got this bacteria called Campylobacter enteritis something. I'll write it in the description, and what I actually got was one of the rarest cases, where more rare than others. People usually don't get this, is that my muscles stopped working. Vegetarianism is what started veganism, so don't you ever message me believing that I have any respect for you. Vegetarians are absolute scum. My high meat is 1 year old now, so I'm gonna eat it all at once. Smells like acidic mushrooms. Oh!
While in Ukraine, Gatis held a live stream for his 42,000 subscribers. Despite Diane's anxiety about her upcoming surgery and her wish to avoid the live stream, Gatis insisted on broadcasting. When he insisted on showing her on camera against her will, she became upset. She grabbed a knife to protect herself. She knew who really assaulted her in the forest days earlier. Gatis backed away, sat down, and smiled on camera, and used this moment to portray Diane as unstable.
What the fuck?
I couldn't my whole skin open because I'm so nervous for tomorrow, and then you gotta film me like that? Why would you do that?
Yeah, why do you interrupt the stream?
Gatis, because you said until 9!
While he appeared calm and in control. Diane and Gatis stayed together and traveled across the US. When they returned, they targeted a SOHO vegan festival in London. Gatis ate a raw squirrel in front of festival goers, including children, as part of his self-proclaimed carnivore tour. Around the same time, Diane discovered she was pregnant with Gatis' child. He was arrested and fined by the police for this stunt. This is also when his troubled past came to light. He was sent to a psychiatric facility, but was released early. At the end of 2019, Diane gave birth to their baby boy, but Gatis refused to sign the birth certificate. He claimed that doing so would connect him to the government, which he distrusted due to his anti-establishment beliefs. But this also allowed him to evade legal responsibilities like child support. According to Diane, Gatis showed little interest in supporting her or their child. Gatis later claimed it was actually Diane who didn't want him to sign the certificate so she could qualify for additional welfare support. In the autumn of 2020, Gatis organized an Offgrid commune event in Romania with his followers sharing the cost for an Airbnb rental. Diane and Gatis frequently argued as she felt Gatis was neglecting her and their child. At one point, fearing for her safety, Diane locked Gatis in a room. Tensions escalated when Gatis became enraged over Diane spending time with another Dutch speaker, kicking her, their baby, and the Dutch speaker out of their Airbnb. A kind family from the group helped Diane find a hotel room, but Gatis threatened them with a knife for assisting her. After this incident, the group disbanded. Gatis tricked Diane, claiming he would end his life if she didn't return. Despite this, they reconciled and went back to the Netherlands, where Gatis punished Diane by cutting her hair short. Finally, Diane gathered the courage to leave Gatis for good. Despite their turbulent history, she allowed him to visit their son in an attempt to maintain some semblance of civility, but by then, the damage was done. In January 2021, Gatis announced that he had broken up with Diane and began publicly slandering her. In his videos, including one titled, "Luna is the worst human I ever met."
The main reason I'm doing this video is because my son still lives with her. And when I left her, I reported her to the Child Protective Services because Luna has been abusing the baby since birth, basically. And besides everything that she did to me for over 2 years, all the abuse, I don't know how to fight it. So I thought maybe I can somehow ask you guys to help me with it. Her real name is not Luna, of course. Her real name is Diane.
He then spells out her last name to make sure everyone gets it so they can harass her.
I wrote an email and explained everything to the Child Protective Services, but they just don't do anything. I don't know why. The Child Protective Services in the Netherlands are called Safe Home. So if you look up Safe Home online and you write them an email and report her with her real name, which I will type in the chat now. There it is.
He then proceeds to encourage his viewers to email Child Protective Services and report Diane in full, giving her full name and all information. This is just one of his many methods of harassing her.
And what she has done is really bad, which I won't go into detail. I just hope somehow they can do something. And I would never want to even involve them, but in this case I don't know what else to do because I have no power over it anyway, because I'm not officially the dad on paper anyway, as I've said before, so which is what she wanted, because she wanted to take care of him alone, but then again she wanted to be a single mom.
This here, ladies and gentlemen, is the king of gaslighting. He offers no proof to what Diane has done, even though she's been abusing their child since birth.
Yeah, now she's out there asking everybody for money, acting like she's a victim, asking everybody for money, like for support, like, oh, I'm a single mom. So I would really urge you guys not to support her anyway at all, because really you have no idea who Luna is in real life. And the title of this video is The Worst Human I've Ever Met in My Life, because it's really true.
The irony here, guys.
I don't know if anybody, and I've met incredibly bad people in my life, and I don't know anybody who has been so incredibly psychotic and abusive, and, you know, in this case towards me, but even in general.
His ramblings continue on here, but basically this man started to destroy the life of the woman who left him due to his own abuse because he could not handle rejection. This behavior led to some of his subscribers turning against him. Gatis also created a channel mocking Diane, sharing private videos of her, including one where she pulled up her skirt. Eventually, due to the various threats, Diane deleted her Patreon account. During this time, Gatis had Diane's disability and child benefits cut off by sending details of the trips they took together as seen on his YouTube channel. This was just the beginning of an obsessive man who just wants his ex-partner, Diane, dead. Gatis reportedly moved to the US in January 2021. He met Jasmine shortly after his arrival, and their relationship has been characterized by controversy, including allegations of Gatis seeking a green card through the relationship. Soon after, Gatis left Jasmine and began dating a Canadian woman named Catherine. Like Diane, Catherine was drawn to his carnivorous lifestyle and influencer persona. Their relationship progressed quickly, and by May 2021, they were married.
Hey everybody, I want to introduce you to my wife because she's going to be in my videos from now on anyway.
Hey guys, I'm Catherine, I'm from Canada, it's nice to meet you.
About the marriage, I wanted to commit to her anyway.
So Catherine here dropped out of university to be with Gatis, and later admitted on camera to being part of his plans.
He was desperate to move on from his past, and that's how I was able to trap him. And he kind of fell for my tricks. And then the relationship was empty because I was just there to hurt him. And then his focus was just going back on his past. And then I was actually encouraging him in his ideas of killing his ex-girlfriend. I was telling him that it would help him move on. And I was telling him that maybe it would improve our relationship.
Not long after their marriage, Gatis uploaded a YouTube video claiming that he and Catherine were in Canada.
Everything kind of reminds me of my so-called past. Everything is just the same in Europe, which is why we decided to go to Canada after all, which is where we arrived yesterday. What do you think about it?
Well, I'm super happy to be in Canada because it's my home.
However, this was not true. In reality, they were staying in an Airbnb near Diane's residence in the Netherlands. Behind the scenes, Gatis, Catherine, and a man named Florian Strack plotted something far more sinister: to kidnap and end the life of Diane and her infant son. Florian drove the group around in a white van, and Gatis used Catherine's account to hire a private investigator to locate Diane's address. They discussed various ways to trick Diane into opening the door. Florian even suggested disguising himself as a delivery man to get close to her. At one point, they attempted to plant a tracker inside a teddy bear that will make its way to Diane's home. To obtain Diane's home address, they tricked Diane's mom by pretending to have a delivery for Diane. Catherine would later provide a detailed written account to the police, revealing everything. According to Catherine, Gatis' abusive nature wasn't limited to Diane. It extended to her as well. He became physically violent, threatened her with a knife, and inflicted deep psychological torment. One of his many acts of control included forcing Catherine to shave her head as a means of humiliating and dehumanizing her. Although Catherine tried to leave him multiple times, Gatis would always track her down and manipulate her into returning. And this is what happened when Catherine backed out of the plot to kidnap and torture Diane and her infant son. Because Gatis had her passport, she ran to the consulate in Stuttgart and remained there until she was able to flee to Canada with protection of the police. Gatis and Florian had found her, but they couldn't do anything at this time. After Catherine returned to Canada, Gatis retaliated in a disturbing way.
This is only for my hard die fans, if you understand what I mean. Very important information which will be released about Caroline if you understand who I mean. The comments for this video will be turned off because there's nothing to discuss here. There will be a link in the description of this video of a Telegram channel, and everything is going to be revealed there. If you want to really help, then join it. Thank you.
Revealing her home address and personal details about her family. He also used the Telegram group to encourage his followers to visit her home, an intimidation tactic he had previously used against Diane.
I just wanted to talk now about what happened with Luna. So when I was with him, he was constantly talking about wanting to eliminate her and hurt her, torture her all the time. He was always talking about it. And yeah, obviously he wanted to be with me to show me off on the channel, to make her jealous because he's so obsessed with her. When we were together, at one point, he just said something like, I want to eliminate Luna, and he wanted to talk about it with me. I was complicit to everything, but I did leave before he paid for the arson and the acid. So when I was with him, we never did anything to her, but we did try to fuck her over many times. And we were all doing it together. I'm not going to say as if I didn't do anything, you know? Me, German Carnivore, and Gatis were in German Carnivore's white van and driving around Luna's house, and we were just finding ways to find her address, find ways to get her, to kidnap her, stuff like that. I guess I went along with it because he talked about it so much that I just really doubted that he would actually, I know it's weird, but I just wanted to see if he would do what he says. We were looking around for her. We found her address through a private detective, and then we were able to convince a guy on the beach to call her mom and convince her to give us the address. Basically, the man pretended to be someone that needed her address to deliver some food. That's how we got the address, basically. When we were in the white van with German Carnivore and Gatis, it was all the time, 24/7, talking about what they would do to her, put her in the van, bring her here, kidnap her, kill her, everything. It was nonstop. And the reason why is because he can't get over her. He's just probably really in love with her. So that's why he can't move on.
Meanwhile, Diane, still traumatized by Gatis' previous actions, confronted him through text messages and emails, asking why he had shown up uninvited at her home. Gatis responded with a chilling message.
Yeah, man, you don't understand what we were planning. Catherine in general saved your life, just so you understand. You wouldn't even be alive if Catherine didn't come along.
If it weren't for Catherine, we would have gone Norway. A term which he used is a coded reference to describe eliminating her and her son, and one that she was fully aware of. Soon after, Gatis moved on and met another woman, Marina Abdulla. She has an online presence as Primal Belle.
Do you want to introduce yourself or anything? Yeah, it's not that, it's my new girlfriend. I mean, why do you guys comment such weird stuff? It's so weird to have a girlfriend or to have a new girlfriend so quickly.
Gatis and Mary have now a baby daughter together. A normal person would have moved on, but not Gatis. After months of recovery and returning to her home from a women's shelter, Diane remained fearful. At the time, no one had been apprehended for the acid attack, and she knew her life was still in danger. Her worst fears were confirmed in January 2023, nearly 2 years after her formal breakup with Gatis, when a Molotov cocktail was thrown into her infant son's bedroom. Fortunately, it didn't ignite, but the message was clear. She was still being targeted. Despite this, Diane struggled to obtain adequate protection or help from the police. Just a week later, at around 1 a.m., another Molotov cocktail was hurled at her house, this time setting it on fire. Thankfully, neither Diane nor her son were home at the time, avoiding what could have been a fatal outcome. The two individuals responsible were apprehended almost immediately. A 33-year-old German national named Ilyas Abdulla and his teenage daughter, Angelina Abdulla. If the last name sounds familiar, it's because Ilyas is the ex-husband of Mary Abdulla, and Angelina is their daughter. These were the same two individuals who had attempted to end Diane's life with a brutal beating and acid attack just months earlier, and now they had escalated their efforts, trying to burn her and her infant son alive. It was a sickening act of violence. Fortunately, Diane and her son were staying in a women's shelter. The attack left her house completely destroyed, leaving Diane and her child with nothing. By late 2023, both the prosecution and defense agreed that the younger attacker, Angelina, a legal minor, was completely insane, as stated in court documents. Reports from attending psychologists and psychiatrists pointed to her troubled family upbringing, particularly the neglect from her mother, Marina, also known as Primal Belle. Angelina, one of 3 children in the family, was acquitted of all charges due to her mental state. She was returned to Germany and placed under the care of her extended family, including her grandparents. Ilyas, the ex-husband of Marina, has been in prison since January 2023. His trial commenced on August 28, 2024. Ilyas's defense states that he was threatened to commit this crime by a YouTuber from Latvia who is in a relationship with his ex-wife. However, this doesn't explain why he would be smiling and laughing during his acid attack, according to Diane. And according to prosecutors, there was no hard evidence that he was forced to do this job. The nightstick was not mentioned. Ilyas expressed remorse for his actions, stating, "What this woman has gone through is a horror that no human deserves. Unfortunately, I was forced to contribute to that. I hope that she will find peace and healing, both physically and mentally, and that one day she will find space in her heart to forgive me." According to official documents, Marina is also charged. Allegedly, she was the getaway driver during the acid attack, but she has not been arrested, and Gatis is also wanted and will be tried separately. Both Mary and Gatis are living free somewhere undisclosed. Surprisingly, Gatis still has an active YouTube channel, despite his first one being banned for hate speech. However, considering he is wanted by the law, this channel may not be up for long. As part of a plea bargain, Ilyas received only 12 years in prison for the attempt on Diane's life through a brutal beating and mutilation from sulfuric acid. He also tried twice, unsuccessfully, to burn her and her infant son alive in their house. Let me know what you think of this justice in the comments below. Diane is dealing with post-traumatic stress alongside other physical and mental issues. If you'd like to support Diane, there's a link in the description below for her GoFundMe page. Help spread the word and like this video. This is Victor.
Of course that it's Gatis that paid with bitcoins someone to attack Luna and put her house on fire. We often talked about, me and Gatis, about throwing he did whatever, throwing a tank in the window of her house and blowing her house up. We talked about me attacking her, stuff like that. I was in it. I was 100% in it.